Hey, marketing friends, Andrew Walton here with Crushing Conversion and another episode of Copy Sins. In today's episode, we are going to be looking at this cold outreach message that I just received today. And I don't know about you, but I absolutely love cold outreach. And there are a number of reasons for that. One is if you do it right, it's one of the fastest ways to bring in new business right now when you need it. And another reason is that within 4 or 8 or 12 lines, you can really quickly get an idea of someone's mindset, of their approach to marketing strategy, and their ability to execute that strategy tactically. So in this small message, there is a ton going on. I think it's really, really instructive. I think you're going to learn a lot from it, and I'm going to break this down line by line, sentence by sentence for you right now. But actually, before I do that, I want you to think about something for a second, and that is whether you're sending cold outreach messages or emails or creating Facebook posts, sales pages, whatever marketing materials you're creating, you're investing the exact same amount of time and energy and attention and emotion into this work, whether it gets you no response or whether 10% of people respond or 50% of people respond. You're going to send the same number of these messages, whether each message gets a 1% of people turning into clients or 10% or 0%, right? So going through whatever marketing materials you're creating and really refining them, really making them better, and revisiting them every day or every week for as long as it takes to make them really work, it's going to be one of the most valuable things you ever do for your business, because you really only need one system that works to bring you revenue, bring you leads, bring you sales. And when you have something that works, you can systemize it and you can scale it. Most people end up jumping from promotion to promotion or promotional effort to promotional effort because they don't have anything that works reliably. So I'm going to go through this example and show you how, if this was your marketing piece, you could improve it probably multiple times. And then I'd like you to, or my wish for you, is that you'd be able to take some of these techniques, take some of these lessons learned, and use them to improve your own marketing materials. And do that until they're really serving your business and helping you grow. So with that said, let's dive into the analysis. So as you'll see here, the piece actually starts off quite strongly, and then things start to go downhill. And it really follows the AIDA formula quite effectively, starting with attention, into interest and desire and action. So let's take a look at this. This was actually one of the most eye-catching intro lines that I'd seen in my inbox probably all of this year so far. Why? In part because it's a social network, and therefore I'm in a very particular mindset in that inbox, and what I see is someone being rather complimentary, talking about me, talking about my successes, so giving some sort of recognition, right? It's like if you received a message in your inbox that said, "Hey, I love your work," or "Hey, looks like you're doing some really cool stuff." Anything like this. It's complimentary, it's giving you recognition, and everyone likes to receive those sorts of messages. Another thing that helps this sort of intro is it's very non-threatening. When you're complimentary, when you're recognizing someone for the good that they've done, that sort of takes their guard down. So it has them feeling good, and it doesn't raise any red flags or sales alarms or anything like this. So pretty strong intro. I would recommend testing something like this. Maybe not word for word, but that strategic idea is quite powerful. So moving on, this next line starts off strong as well. If I could show you a way to get even more exposure for your business every day. So we've moved now from the attention part of AIDA into interest. And as you'll notice here, this is a very nice case of knowing who your audience is. Just imagine, for example, if this message was sent to a complete beginner, it wouldn't really make any sense, because you'd be starting with, I know you're doing great with your business. Well, that sort of misses the mark if you're just getting started, right? Now, someone who does have a successful business, either wildly successful or moderately successful, if you can approach that person and say, hey, look, if I can, I know you're getting some results, you're meeting them where they're at, but if I can get them for you faster or cheaper or easier or with less of your personal attention or whatever it is, that's going to that's going to catch the interest then of this particular of whoever's reading this message. In this case, who doesn't want more exposure? Pretty much anyone in business would want more exposure, right? The unfortunate thing is this sentence doesn't end off very powerfully. In fact, it pretty much undermines all the great work that's been done up to this point to build some positive emotion, build some interest. Not yet at the point of salivating over the offer or the idea, but it could very well get there if this was approached differently. The problem with by saying just by leaving your house is it sounds a little bit ridiculous. It sounds like leaving your house is the technique. The image that came to my mind reading this for the first time is it's like imagine getting more exposure by leaving your house. So in my mind I'm imagining okay, I leave my house, I get some exposure, then if I want to get more exposure, I have to go back inside and leave again. Immediately that changes the whole frame of mind of the reader. They move out of this state of mind where you're building up the emotional pressure here, first by starting with this complimentary recognition based statement and moving into this interest building statement and finishing it with something that no longer am I just along for the ride, feeling the emotion, feeling the interest, but I have to deal with, as I wrote here, the cognitive dissonance of this strange idea of getting exposure by leaving my house. Now, I know logically what this is supposed to mean, right? But the key to getting people to make decisions is not logic, it's emotion. Logic is only used to rationalize decisions. And I could probably talk on this topic for half an hour, and I probably should at some point, because a lot of people make this mistake. I see it over and over and over again. Appeals to logic versus emotion. And there's very excellent data to show that this doesn't work. But for the purposes today of simply analyzing the copy, having to go into my mind and say to myself, oh, okay, they mean something like every time I leave my house and go out into public, this is the way I'm going to get more exposure. If I'm having to do the thinking, I'm not doing the buying, essentially. That's usually what it comes down to. So that really at that point, the sale is as good as lost, effectively. Now, it's not going to be that case in 100% of cases. I imagine that this message works a little bit, but the amount of the negative effect of this approach is going to be significant, I suspect. And I suspect that if you tested this versus something like every time you leave your house and go into public or something like this, would avoid this whole situation. And if this was the only mistake, maybe there would be some saving of this piece, but the mistakes sort of compound themselves from here. So now this is a point where you would read this, and if you're thinking tactically, you'd say, well, there's not really any issue with this particular question. Would you want more information about that? I believe that it would be more powerful to say, would you like to see how it works, for example, because seeing and understanding how something works is more valuable than information. It's closer to the result. But overlooking that, the wording, it doesn't look like there's much problem here, right? But there actually is if we zoom out and think more strategically about the overall structure of the piece. So we're going to have to jump around a little bit here so I can make this clear. So right now, we're saying, would you want more information about that? Then we go into this. Imagine being in a baseball stadium and every smartphone within 400 meters of you had a notification on it about your business. Okay, so that's rather awkwardly worded. There's some English mistakes, but overlooking that, as an idea, this is actually pretty strong. Using an analogy to illustrate the benefits or illustrate how the thing you're doing works is really, really powerful, and not enough people do it. So you could easily clear up the languaging issues here, and this would be, again, tactically a very nice idea. But let's continue. And remember, thinking about both tactics, tactical execution on a line-by-line basis, and strategy in terms of the structure of the overall piece. So now we say, I can help you make that happen through proximity marketing. And this is where we run into the problem. The flow here between would you like more information about that and I can help you make it happen through proximity marketing is just a little bit awkward. It could be streamlined more by eliminating this question and moving the idea of proximity marketing up here where this question is. And there are a number of reasons for that. One being that if you can sort of do this backwards, look at the overall flow if you made this change and see, this makes much more logical sense to go from, hey, but if I could show you a way to get more exposure for your business every day, every time you go out in public, for example, then say the way you do that is with proximity marketing. What is proximity marketing, you ask? Well, imagine being in a baseball stadium and having every smartphone within 400 meters of you receive a notification about your business. If you'd like to know how to make that happen, have a look at the video. That flow makes much more sense. When you have the explanation of the thing before introducing the thing, so this is the explanation of what proximity marketing is, and you're only introducing proximity marketing here. That is a little bit confusing. It also creates a slight, I would describe it as an uneasy feeling or a bit of cognitive dissonance or something like this when we have these two different, would you like more information about that? And then later on you're introducing this, I can make it happen through proximity marketing. It seems like you should only have one or the other, or that there needs to be some other change in the flow to make these two things able to happen at the same time. So I'm not saying that the solution that I came up with is the only one, but based on my analysis, it seems to be the best one at this time. So one thing that you can do when you're reviewing your own pieces is review them line by line, yes, but then you have to zoom out and look at what function is this section playing within the overall structure of the piece. Like we already discussed about, okay, the first line is to get my attention. The second line, these two sections, are to gain my interest. The third section, if we're following the ADA formula, desire, it would make sense to say, I can make that happen, or you can make that happen through proximity marketing. This is what proximity marketing is. And then have the call to action. So let's zoom in now again and look at things tactically. So this line here, I think that this can be improved actually, instead of by saying I can help you make that happen, because I don't know who you are yet. And I'm still in what's in it for me mode. And when I say I mean whoever receives this message is going to be in a fairly similar state of mind, at least if you're targeting accurately. So here you don't have to, it's too early to sell you. There's no need whatsoever to sell you. The idea, the call to action here, the goal of the piece is to get someone to go watch a video, right? So the entire goal of this piece should be to get the reader to go watch that video. And you don't have to sell yourself yet in order to make that happen. All you have to do is sell the value of the video, and therefore sell the value of proximity marketing. And in one of the golden rules of marketing, a lot of people say like the one key to this or the secret to that or anything like this, but really one of the golden rules of marketing correctly, marketing effectively, is having one big idea, one main offer, one main value proposition, and show those to one person, not try to do two things at the same time. When you do two things and you split people's focus and their attention, even if it's really small, even if it's really subtle, such as I can help you. Now, there are two considerations that might pop into my mind. Do I believe that you specifically are the person that can help me? And do I care enough about proximity marketing to take the call to action? It's become more than twice as hard for me to take action. And even if I don't think the thoughts, even if I don't consciously think these words, in the reader's mind, you've created this situation where there are two things that I have to believe in order to take action. I have to believe in you and in proximity marketing. And that makes your job probably not 2 times harder, but probably closer to 10 or 20 times harder. The good news is this is really easy to fix. You can just say something like this. It's entirely possible with proximity marketing. And then again, if we're fixing the structure, jumping into, well, what the heck is proximity marketing? Imagine yourself being in a baseball stadium. Great, so let's move to the call to action, which frankly is probably the worst part of this entire piece, because in part it breaks the golden rule: 2 things to do. I don't want to do 2 things. I've just received a message from a complete stranger, and they're asking me to go do a bunch of work now. Imagine that. Imagine if you received this message from someone you didn't know, and they were asking you to go do a bunch of stuff, and there's not a clear payoff for that stuff. Another thing that makes marketing more effective is the idea of micro commitments. You get someone to take the smallest possible next step. So in this case, it would be to click on the link, not to commit to watching. Okay, well, actually, the video is the point, right? But if I'm supposed to first watch a video that hasn't been specified how long it is, hasn't been specified what exactly I'm going to get out of the video, and then get on a conversation with an unclear purpose, probably given the fact that it's someone that is unknown to the reader, it's probably going to be a sales pitch, right? That's going to be the assumption that the reader makes. So essentially, this call to action translated into what the reader will feel, again, whether or not they think it consciously, is, hey, go watch this video, which may or may not be valuable to you, and which may or may not even take a lot of your time, and then come back here and let me sell you some stuff. It's not quite that bad, it's not quite that offensive, but it's pretty darn close, and you have to, as a marketer, try to make things as easy, as low friction as possible for your people to take action, for your readers to do the thing that you want them to. So really, all this call to action should be doing is getting people to a video where, if it's short, talk about how short it is, how it'll only take 3 minutes of their time or whatever it is, and have a single awesome benefit or outcome that I'm going to get from watching this video. If this piece did that, then it would have a much higher chance of working. And if this piece were to take all of these suggestions in this video, then I think it would have a very nice chance of working, or at the very least it would work much better than it probably is right now. So there you have it. That's how a 10-line piece of content can really pack a punch in terms of teachable moments. We're up over 19 minutes now. So I will leave you with the last word. What was the most valuable thing you got from looking at this piece? And how will you apply it to improve your own marketing? Let me know in the comments below this video, and I will see you again real soon.